When you look at the markets and the kind of volatility that we saw this week, was it an overdue correction that they needed to correct by 4 or 5%? Or is it something that we just need to get more used to, that volatility can come back without really any, real impetus?
Well, I mean, we say it's the first time since February, but like in the grand scheme of things, I mean, this is not an unusual market correction. So I guess that's the first point. The second is we've been highlighting on our side that we had heightened, macro uncertainty, a wider range of outcomes that was calling for some risk premium to be put back into the market. So I think this is in line with what we've seen, and I think there's a trade angle here that is the escalation in trade, or that becoming in clearer focus is part of what we've seen this week.
But how are the markets positioned? Like, again, I know you're head of research, but are they looking at the wrong research? Is there, is sentiment fragile? So you see equities kind of going up, but anything could almost make them turn.
No, so I think the market was already reflecting, that heightened uncertainty, because we've seen growth that has been pretty robust this year, and yet and earnings have been very robust as well, and we haven't seen the same, performance in markets. So that was already at play. I think the market will be particularly susceptible to respond to, when trade conflict, especially with the China-US, are becoming more in center stage. There's a chance of readjustment in that context. We think overall, however, that there's also a profit taking that has been happening. After like this run that we've seen. Hedge funds and others might have found an opportunity to say, let's take profit at this stage. So we don't think this is questioning the underlying story, but this is the environment we're kind of in.
Jean, I have a good chart actually looking at the S&P 500 dropping below the 200-day moving average. Should we look at some of these technicals, or should we be focused on the news?
Yeah, but we're looking at all the angles here, but I think at the end of the day, we need to watch on the one hand the growth backdrop, which for our view still maintains like a pretty solid track, and the big question is how much of a change the trade noise will be making around this. One other aspect which is obvious also is the rate readjustment we've seen in the U.S., which I think is part of the story to some extent. Maybe as a trigger, but we would think like this week movement is mostly of a trade story.
Is dollar still a haven? Or is it a haven?
Dollar, I think, is still a heaven, and this week what we've seen, in fact, is the dollar hasn't really strengthened despite like global risk-off, you could say. So I think this is also speaking the fact that this is not a pure risk-off event that we're going through, and the dollar, I think, is not like a major barometer of what's happening right now. It's more of a sideshow, I guess.